A spectacular summer day in Edmonton, Alberta. Day 2 of this unusual Summer World Juniors. 8 of the 10 teams have already played their first game, including Latvia, who lost 6-1 to Finland last night, and a tough turnaround as they take on Canada in Canada's opening game here at the World Juniors in Edmonton. As we say hello, Canada, and welcome to Day 2 of the World Juniors and game number 2, Canada versus Latvia. James Duffy alongside Bob McKenzie, 1995 World Junior gold medalist Jeff O'Neill, and 8-time world and Olympic champion Cheryl Pounder. When you grow up dreaming in Canada of playing in the World Juniors, the dream isn't quite like this. It's that Christmas tournament with jammed houses in Canada. Not a summer hockey tournament with smaller crowds and Hockey Canada engulfed in a major controversy. But these kids have no control over that. They are just thrilled to be here and to get a second chance at going for gold. To get you ready, Gordon Miller and Mike Johnson.
Mike, we've seen a lot of 16-year-olds play for Canada over the years and make a name for themselves. Connor Bedard turned 17 a couple of weeks ago. He's already been dominant in junior hockey and has a 4-goal game in this tournament, even though it was postponed back in December.
It's amazing someone who's not even been drafted is going to be the offensive focal point for Team Canada. It just doesn't happen that someone his age is such a key cog before the tournament gets going. You can see why, though. Explosive skater, great hands, and one of the best releases we have seen in years. We're going to talk about an awful lot. His ability to shoot the puck, get it past goaltenders from in tight, from a distance. All eyes from Canada, around the whole tournament, from us, are going to be on Connor Bedard. Big skates to fill for him, but he's had no trouble doing that throughout his career so far.
Canada and Latvia face each other for the first time since 2016. Latvia in the top division for the first time since 2017. James?
All right, thank you, guys. If you're joining us for the first time this tournament, quick group refresher. These are the teams in Canada's group. Finland and Czechia already winning their first games last night. Latvia losing to Finland. Canada and Finland expected to battle it out for first place in this group. I remember sitting here in December, I believe the first game, Mason McTavish made this ridiculous play that had you jumping out of your chair. What are your expectations for him this time around?
Well, first of all, James, I'm so impressed that he's here. If that was me, I'd be saying, I'm playing in the NHL this year. No thanks, I'm probably not going to come. But we talked about him a lot in December. Just he's an emotional leader. He's big and he's strong and he's got that shot. You're right about those goals. Little evasive moves underneath the stick and then he would roof it. He's so important to lead, especially games like this, lead the right way as well. They're going to dominate a lot of hockey games, and he's going to be the leader. They got to do it the right way.
You mentioned some of the guys not here, including Owen Power and Caden Gooley, who were Canada's 2 top defensemen back in December. So a new top pairing with new responsibilities.
Yeah, Sabrango and Zellweger, and here 2 guys are going to get a lot of minutes for Team Canada, and they're going to be shut down, of course, when you get those kind of minutes. But you have to have a way to produce, and you know that Sabrango's 65 games in the AHL with Grand Rapids, defensively responsible, reliable, and then you have Zellweger, who has the ability to move a puck. So you've got that complementary, that defensive stalwart, and then of course someone who can move the puck and get on the offensive side of it, and Olin Zellweger. So the complement of these two, in particular on the offensive blue line with Sabrango protecting and deflecting to the perimeter, I think they can be extremely effective.
If the Canadians have been watching the other games so far, what have they learned, Bob?
Well, you don't want to take it for granted that you're going to win just because you're playing Latvia, but let's presume for a moment that Canada is going to win this game. They want to win it the way the Americans beat the Germans in their first game. The Americans were sharp. They shot out of a cannon. They looked like they were efficient and doing things really well. The Swedes, on the other hand, they won their first game too against Switzerland, but boy, they did not look good at all, and they come out with a win, but it's not the same as the American win. So Canada wants to be more like the Americans than the Swedes in this first game.
First of back-to-backs for Canada. They'll be right back on the ice tomorrow to take on Slovakia. It's been a long wait, 7.5 months. There was a long time where they weren't sure this tournament would happen again, but here we go. Latvia versus Canada in Canada's opener at the Summer World Juniors. Drop of the puck after this.
It was actually a close game in the early going. The Finns blew it open in the 3rd period. Canada makes its tournament debut in the reboot of the 2022 World Junior Championship. The officials for this game are Kyle Kowalski of Canada, Riku Brander of Finland, the linesman from the United States and Germany. So a little different in this tournament. We will see officials from a participating country working the tournament, or working the game, rather. Starting in goal for Canada's 19-year-old Sebastian Kossup, native of Fort McMurray, Alberta, about 5 hours north of here, won a Western Hockey League championship with the Edmonton Oil Kings this past season. And for Latvia, 18-year-old Patrick Berzic, who played in the Latvian League this year, just 5 games. The head coach for Team Canada's Dave Cameron guided Canada to a silver medal in the 2011 tournament in Buffalo. He's the head coach of the Ottawa 67s of the Ontario Hockey League. And for Latvia, Artis Abols, first time coaching their national junior team, a long-time assistant with their men's national team at both the World Championship and the Olympic Games. He coached Zemgala in the Latvian League to a league championship this year. There is the now 17-year-old Connor Bedard. 51 goals in 62 games, the third 16-year-old in Western Hockey League history to have a 50-goal year.
He's used to having a lot of attention on him. He's playing on the #1 line with the captain, centerman, Mason McTavish, who is back again to lead the team, and they went off to a good start.
Canada has scored 2 lopsided wins in its 2 all-time meetings with Latvia.
Well, welcome back to Edmonton, World Junior Summer Edition. Have fun.
And away they go, McTavish centering Joshua Watt and Connor Bedard. And McTavish plays it back. McTavish very much wanted to play in this tournament. 8 Canadians are not back from the team named back in December of last year. 4 are injured. And a battle for the puck in the corner. There's no relegation this year, so Latvia is sending a very young team. 16 of the 25 players in their roster are young enough to return at Christmas time. And here's Bedard with it. Connor Bedard drops it back to Zellweger. Olin Zellweger, member of the Western Hockey League, centers it. And that's knocked on goal by Waugh. Joshua Waugh had a great year this year for Sherbrooke in the Quebec League. 51 goals. Now brought up by McTavish. McTavish in, shoots, it ramps off a stick and high. Backed up by Andre Rinskus, and it's back down to the Canadian zone, icing called against Latvia. So Canada, a silver medalist in this building in the 2021 tournament, lost the gold medal game to Team USA, won the gold in Ostrava in 2020, also gold in 2018.
I'm seeing even year gold, so, 22, if the pattern holds. There's 4 teams really that are the favorites to win a gold medal, all pretty equally. Finland, Sweden, US, and Canada. Trying to build throughout the tournament.
Face off one back. That shot fired wide by Jack Thompson. Thompson moving in. The Portis, Ontario native, plays for Sault Ste. Marie in the OHL. Benyenko plays that off the boards into the Latvian bench.
And you heard Bob talk about, even though you're playing Latvia and Canada thinks they're going to win, making sure to establish a tempo that Latvia has a hard time dealing with. You're trying to put pressure on the Latvians in their own end, have them make reads, decisions, tire them out, draw penalties, all those things that you can kind of do to a team when you can dominate them in the offensive zone.
Kept alive by Carson Lambos, who plays for Winnipeg in the Western League. And back to pick it up is Lucas Cormier. Cormier, a returnee from Canada's silver medal winning team, which was, seems like a generation ago, January of 2021. And here's Lambos with it. Up ahead to Kent Johnson. Now, the IIHF has ruled that the game results won't count from Christmas time, but the individual ones will. That means that Kent Johnson has the rare distinction of having scored in the World Junior, the World Championship, and the Olympics in the same season. One of 4 players in history to do that. Saku Koivu, Evgeny Malkin, and Caleb Togonen are the others.
Pretty nice company for him. It's him and Mason McTavish have played all around the world, internationally, different club teams in the NHL, and still chose to come here, which speaks to their desire to represent the country and try to win a gold medal.
That puck turned over right in front. A chance there for Latvia's Felix Gavars, and Gavars misfires on that. Ridley Gregg works it back the other way. Gregg, Rostapchuk, Zaka Stopchuk. And as that roll off his stick and back down the ice. And Alan Sabrango back to pick it up. Sabrango spent last year with Grand Rapids of the American Hockey League. He's a Detroit 3rd-round pick. His 2nd year in Grand Rapids. 18-year-olds were allowed to play in the American League during the COVID year since the Ontario Hockey League wasn't playing. Daniels Anderson brings it back out, and it's knocked down by Gregg. That puck way up in the air, bounces back down to the Canadian line. Brought in onside by Klaus Weinberg. Brought back the other way. Seeley up ahead for Will Cooley. Cooley dropped it back across to Seeley, working in. He's poke checked there by Gert Seekant. Seekant. Backhands out ahead. And gathered up by Bergmanis. Ralph Bergmanis. Weinberg, the puck back in front for Seekant. And broken up by Elliot Desnoyers. Desnoyers for walk. Canada in the middle of a change here. As the top line comes on, Bedard in on the forecheck. And spinning away is Bergmanis, the Latvian captain, plays for Sioux City in the USHL. These Latvian players play all over the place. North America, Europe, you name it.
So you got to be sharp in your support routes. And you see really Greg here. Quick stick as the puck's turned over. Can't stop coming, but the quick flip not to draw a penalty is harder than you think. And Canada's got to understand that Latvia will always have bodies back. It's going to be hard to create odd man rushes early in the game. Latvia will be stacking 3 or 4 defensively across the blue line.
McTavish wins the face-off back to Bedard. Connor Bedard works his way in. Bedard still with it. Another 2 around. Winds and shoot. The puck is just wide. McTavish back on it. There's McTavish, a backhand shot that goes high. Off the glass and out of play.
And you see some of that passive nature from Latvia in their own end. They kind of let Bedard wheel around the outside, take his time, keep him out there. They're handing him off from winger to defense, not chasing him all the way around. Now taking him long enough, now let him go. Pass him off to the next guy. So someone has to find some space in front of the net, and it was Raw who got a pretty good tip on that puck while Bedard was wheeling around the perimeter.
Tim Johnson, well-traveled last year as well. Played in college, the Olympics, the World Junior, the World Championship, the NHL.
Feels like he's got to be too old for this tournament.
Johnson back on it. First round pick of Columbus in 2021. 5th overall in that draft. Now back to pick it up is Sabrango. That pass picked on. Romanis works it back around, knocked down by Sabrango.
We got 3 now.
Forster for Johnson. Drops it back, and Sabrango banned on that shot. It rolls down to the goal mouth, knocked away by Berzic. Another long shot by Johnson, flutters wide. Forster back on it. And Romanis lays it back down for Gustav Ozolinsh, who's not related to Sandis Ozolinsh, the Latvian NHL star.
Oh, Kent Johnson was looking for a little Michigan action there, trying to cradle the puck behind the net. But he did go to Michigan.
Asked the Latvians, the team manager, if Ozolinsh was related. He said, no, in Latvia, Ozolinsh is like Johnson.
Okay.
So if you were Latvian, you'd be Mike Ozolinsh.
I'd be Meeks Ozolinsh.
Mike's Ozolinsh.
That's what I'd be. We see this a lot, and it's something that all these skilled players can do, and it crosses their mind. Puck's behind the net. Watch how, I call this one the spatula. He's trying to cut underneath it. See, he's trying to get it up there, and good defense by Luck, but that's not to let him do it. He talked about odd man rushes. This is how you get it. Adding a 4th player, defenseman Zabrango, wide open, he toes the shot, but adding that second wave of defensemen will be key to try to break down Latvia's weaker zone.
Greg takes the face-off to 4 bats at it, but the puck goes over the glass and out, and the face-off will stay in the Canadian zone. Ridley Gregg, his dad Mark, played for 4 NHL teams, and now a scout here with Philadelphia. Apparently the Flyers are saying that his scouting reports in Canada are pretty much ignored. They're not that detailed, except for one player.
17, spectacular. And everyone talks about Greg and the way that he plays with such emotion and physicality, that he can add that to a team. And making sure to stay on the right side of the penalty line, but bring that physicality that he does.
Got suspended after an NHL exhibition game.
Yeah, he's not afraid to run into people. He had a big hit in the one exhibition game a couple days ago against Sweden, which had us kind of raising our eyebrows.
There's Thompson on it. Rick Wide for Greg, was a 1st-round pick of Ottawa in 2020. Daryl's Dukirch back to pick it up. 2-0 the shots on goal. No score here in the 1st period. Earlier today, Sweden with a 3-2 win over Switzerland. That thing was scoreless until late in the 2nd period. That pass picked off. Shot back in, and a hard shot taken there by Dufour. Rebound loose in front, and Dufour couldn't quite reach it. Back the other way comes Anderson. Daniels Anderson. Long shot. Gets down to Kosa, and he'll hang on to that. You're watching day 2 of the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championship here at Edmonton. For St. John, 7 goals in 4 games. One off the tournament record, which is shared by Dale Howarchuk, Luc Robitaille, and Pat Falloon.
Pretty good players right there as well.
Led the Quebec League in goal scoring with 56 goals this season.
He's listed at 6'3". He looks like 6'6" out there. He's a giant on the ice.
Face off in the Canadian zone. Nathan Gaucher in for it. Scramble draw controlled by Canada. Picked up by Lambos. And the Winnipeg native, a Minnesota first-round pick. Moves it up for Gaucher. The return pass from Will Cooley is picked off and brought back by Ravinskis. Banks that down, and Kosa knocks that away. Loose along boards, Lambos. Around to Will Cooley. The Windsor Spitfires of the OHL. Now Lambos back up ahead. Brought in by Benoit. Puck loose in the corner. And scooped up by the Latvian captain, Ralph Bergmanis. He'll be heading to the University of Vermont next year. That's
that
nice and call.
It looked like it might have cost his toe as well. And so we talk about the tournament within the tournament.
Right.
And Canada's clearly here to win a gold medal. Latvia is here to try to make the quarterfinals.
Right.
And clearly the last 5 years they've hovered just on the outside, making it 2009 a long, long time ago. So last 5 appearances, not the last 5 years.
Yeah, relegated in 2017. So Latvia finished second in Division 1A last December. The key game was against Belarus. They lost a close one, 2-1. As a result, Belarus won that tournament and was to be promoted. But when Russia invaded Ukraine in the spring, both Russia and Belarus were barred from competing in IIHF tournaments. So Latvia earned promotion here by being the second place team from Division 1A. McTavish. And it's 2-for-1. Bedard moves in and fires it wide because no relegation here.
Right.
And so they'll be back in Halifax in December. Hence all the players eligible to return. They want them to have experience here. McTavish walks it in, shoots, it goes off a leg, right back to him. And McTavish has that roll off his stick and back up to center ice to Sabrango. Snaps out ahead to Bedard. In comes Connor Bedard with McTavish. Bedard shoots, scores! Connor Bedard with a lightning strike, and Canada's got a 1-0 lead.
There it is. There's the release. We've talked a lot about it. He's shown it throughout his last year of play, and he doesn't need much. Again, a little turnover, new zone, picks up a broken play. Here's the first one. Drag and pull. Missed it. About 30 seconds later, adjusts the sights, drag and pull. Yeah, I got it this time. I'll get it that 8 inches inside the post that I need, and velocity rips it by Berzic. And Bedard is comfortable scoring goals at the World Juniors. I guess that's his first in the tournament, even though he had a 4-goal game against Austria at Christmas.
So he's got 5 career goals at the World Junior, but this is only one tournament. It gets complicated, but there is precedent for that. In 1988, Edmonton played Boston in the Stanley Cup Final, and Game 2 had to be postponed because of a power outage at the Boston Garden. So that result didn't count, but the scoring does. So, for example, Craig Simpson scored in that game.
Right.
His goal still counts as a playoff goal.
If he wants a 4-goal tournament, get another 4-goal game in this tournament.
Drop back, and that long shot ripped wide by Jack Thompson. Brought back out by Lavic. Works it across the line. Thompson goes backward. He and Lavic collide. Logan Stankoven digging for it. Stankoven wearing a full cage, not because he's underage, but because he got hit in the face with a puck the other day. He's hoping to take the cage off in the next couple of days. So the roar goes up for the Connor Bedard announcement. And the fans that are here and that are here for the next week and a half will talk about seeing him as an underage in this tournament.
He is the talk of the pre-tournament so far anyways. From different countries, from fans, from the media, that they want to see what he can do in this tournament.
That puck almost picked off by Greg.
The amazing part is you'd expect him to be better than he was at Christmas, because at his age, 7 months is a long time.
Right. A stop check. Pokes that ahead. It's brought back in by Dufour. Dufour centers it, goes off a stick and wide. Here's Gregg back on. Another big hit from Ridley Gregg. A stop check. Going to dig that free. Back at the point is Gregg. Feeds it back in front. And just missed the stop check with that. Stop check plays for Vancouver, the Western League. He's from St. Albert, Alberta, just outside of Edmonton. There's a strong Alberta presence on this Canadian team. Stop check into the forecheck. Dufour knocks it free. Tries to drop that back for Riley Kidney, the Montreal pick. Goes back to Sabrango. And Sabrango winds in. Donovan Sabrango, a wraparound try. Rebound put wide by Kidney. Here's Will Cooley on it. Back for Sabrango. Long wrist shot. It flutters down. Oh, and the goaltender Berzinch got spun around as Latvia plays it back down to the Canadian zone.
Trying to draw a penalty there, a little contact, but you want to know how to shoot it really hard. We talked about the shot for Connor Bedard. One, he's got an incredibly whippy stick, a 70 flex, but watch his eyes. Watch the effort he's put into this pull and release. Everything he's got into it to flex that stick, kick it off, and wow, not a bit of spin on that puck either. He pulls it clean, changing the angle. Just a technically very sound release, but the effort to flex and release shown on his face as he gets his first of the tournament. Love it. It's fantastic.
It's incredible. You know, it's been compared to Joe Sakic's release, which might be the greatest ever. Now busting in. Ravinskas centers it, and that just missed. Seacon's in front. Gaucher got knocked down. Brought back up by Kidney, who flips it back down to the Latvian zone, and Canada begins to change, and the top line comes back on. Pass the midway point of the opening period. So to accommodate Germany and Austria in the third game this evening. Thompson plays it back across to McTavish. Centering pass for Cooley, goes off a stick in the corner. And now Bedard comes back on. Cooley digging for it. And Bedard tries to work that free. Banked back out by Ravinskas. Away comes Seeley. Ronan Seeley from Olds, Alberta, a couple hours south of here. Moves it back, Adam Bedard comes streaking in. Bedard trying to work that free, and does. McTavish has it. Plays it back, but the pass misfires as he looks for Lucas Cormier.
Bedard still tangled up in the far end.
They're now calling for it. Gets that lead pass. In comes Bedard, who flips it down. And the crowd booing as Bedard was tied up way behind the play. Moved back out by Martin Slavich. He plays for Cedar Rapids in the USHL. His dad, Rodrigo, the most decorated Latvian international of all time, has played some 200 international games, 12 world championships for Latvia. And here is Cormier with it, the two-time winner of the Quebec League Defenseman of the Year award. To Lambos. Lambos throws that rink wide, bounces off a stick right back to him, and spins that back down to the Latvian zone. Forrester on the forecheck. Knocked down by Vitalic. That pass picked up by Stankoven. Canada's away, 3 wide. Walking in and shooting that shot off the glove as Tyson Forrester got that away. Fed back in front, a backhand shot. And Forrester just missed on that. Picked back up by Stankoven. Logan Stankoven for Zellweger jumping in. Zellweger works it back in front. Stankoven just missed on that. And lifted high in the air by Vitalic back down to the Canadian zone, and Canada regroups quickly as Latvia is changing. And the pass broken up at center ice. And moved ahead by Forster. For Johnson. Kent Johnson fires, and that goes off the glove of Berzinch. Johnson can really rip it as well. Here's Forster with it. As Canada changes, throws that rink wide to Johnson. Johnson, poke check there by Ravinskas. Seeley, at the Johnson. Canada changing again as Johnson works in and shoots. Goes off a skate over the glass and out of play. Connor Bedard making his presence felt early. He's got the goal as Canada has a 1-0 lead on Latvia on day 2 of the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championship.
Cooking can be a chance to pause and be thankful for the little moments. Like a radiant color palette. The hypnotizing swirl of a recipe coming together. And when it's finished, all that's left is to savor it.
Go to HelloFresh.com and use code TV16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes.
Connor Bedard with his first of the tournament, and not surprising, he's going to get a lot of attention from us, but from the opponents as well as this tournament goes along. We saw in the exhibition game, he's not afraid to mix it up, so we know what he can do with the puck, and defensemen have a hard time dealing with what he can do, that shot, that speed, and his goal-scoring ability. Another fantastic look at it. This beats Berzic clean, but he also doesn't shy away from contact and from puck battles, and you're never going to score as much as he does unless you're willing to go to the spots where the puck is going to be, and sometimes you win that battle, sometimes you lose it, but he will be involved in these kind of scrums, not just because their teams are paying attention to him, but because he doesn't shy away from it either. He gets after the puck wherever it is, trying to get it back so we can create more offense.
Ridley Gregg for the face-off, wins that back to a stop check. Dufour back for a stop check, tees it up and shoots, and the save made by Berzic. Brought back by Vilmanis, who rings that around. And Kosa back on it, steers that away. Sebastian Kosa, a great year for the Edmonton Oil Kings in this building in the Western Hockey League. 6 regular season shutouts, 5 more in the playoffs as Edmonton won the Western Hockey League title. Dufour chips it back down to the Latvian zone. That's icing against Canada. 6:34 to go here in the first period.
Stopcheck had a great look in the high slot, just how you want it. One-timer, flat pass, nobody around you, you're going to lay into it, and almost had too much time. He gets a lot of ice where you want to hit it so hard, your stick hits the ice about 8 inches behind the puck, and he toes it slowly towards the net. Too much time to shoot that one.
So we're seeing here in the early going that Ridley Gregg takes a lot of defensive zone draws for Canada. That's after the icing call. He had to stay out, but he is a player who's taking important face-offs for this team. Played for Brandon in the Western League last year. Brought in now by Sikan. Backhands that towards the goal. Kosa makes the stop. Now, brought down in front. There's Canada's Jack Thompson as Gregg brings it back out. Brought back in by Weinberg. Throws that wide of the goal, and back is Cormier to pick it up. Sam Marie the kick, New Brunswick. Up ahead for Cooley, and Will Cooley winds in with Denvoyer. Cooley spins it back. Drop back off, and Denvoyer back on it. Gaucher throws that towards the front of the goal, but it's knocked down by Gustav Zozelin. The Sioux Falls in the USHL. Bouncing puck back in front. Cooley, a backhand shot. Gaucher back on it. Looks down to Denvoyer. Cooley had the puck skipping behind him. Picked off now. Gaucher back into Denvoyer, and the puck squirted away from Berzic. Move back to center ice, and racing back is Ryan O'Rourke for Canada. Out for Denvoyer. Pass in the middle of Waugh. Joshua Waugh in, shoots, and Berzic makes the stop on him. Waugh brings it back around to McTavish as the top line comes back out. Mason McTavish winds it across the top. McTavish shoots from a sharp angle. McTavish back on it. Drops it off to Bedard. Bedard shoots, and that was blocked by Harris Brandt. Another chance in front.
McTavish had an empty net, but he mishandled the pull off the back wall.
Here's Bedard back with it. That's picked off and moved ahead by Dukers. Fired back in by Andersons. And Sabrango rings it around to McTavish. Throws that rink wide for Zellweger. Zellweger to Bedard. Skips back down, and Berzic steers that away. Waugh back on it. McTavish comes in for it. Brought out quickly by Penyenko. Penyenko plays it across, and the shot fired wide by Darzic. Darzic's back on the forecheck. And here's Sabrango with it. Sabrango to Bedard. Connor Bedard winding in with Stankoven. Pass across. Stankoven moves back in front. His shot is knocked away by Berzic. Johnson tries to work that free. And Weinbergs has it back. 3-on-2 now for Latvia. That shot taken by Sikans, knocked away by Kosa. And now Thompson back with it. Thompson goes rink wide. In comes Forrester. Wraparound try, and it rang off the goalpost. Dyson Forrester plays that back for Seeley, who almost lost the puck. It would have been a breakaway for Hodass. Stankoven shoots off a leg and wide. Shots are 17-3 in favor of Canada. This, very much like Latvia's game against Finland, took a long time for the Finns to pry it open.
And the challenge for Canada is staying patient, staying disciplined, and not chasing extra goals. Keep doing the same thing, knowing you're going to score eventually.
Stankoven to Johnson. And Johnson's back on it, walks back in, goes between the legs, feeds it back across. Cormier's shot, he ripped that wide.
Come on. Kidding me?
And here's Cormier back with it. Holding as Canada changes, and the puck goes off a stick. Up and out of play. It's a 1-0 lead for Canada, but a couple of close chances. Mason McTavish, a great look here, but turned away by Gustav Zozalic. And then moments after that, Stankoven stopped by Berzic.
Show the world what it means to be a fan at Fanatics.com. The world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear from all the leagues, teams, and players you love. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
If you've received a wage garnishment notice, bank levy notice, or need to file back or current taxes, you need to call Tax Leaders of America.
After calling Tax Leaders of America, they were able to negotiate my tax debt down to pennies on the dollar.
Call today for a free consultation.
Coming up in our first intermission will be James Duthie, Bob McKenzie, Jeff O'Neill, Cheryl Pounder with all the news from this game and around the tournament. On this day two, great game earlier today, Sweden and Switzerland.
Solid crew, good perch up there in the corner they're
Yes.
watching the game from. Watching the highlights as Canada's had it right in front of them all period long. And they had a good view of this move by Kent Johnson.
Hello.
Head up and in traffic, backhand through, protect, slide, and I'm gone. I mean, that is something. It's gorgeous. And it's not showing off. It's not being fancy. It's just finding a solution on how to get to open ice in the middle of the defensive zone. Really nicely done.
The World Championship, the Olympics, the World Junior, the NHL, college. It's quite the tour around the hockey world, literally. Here's Lambos back with it. In for Dufour. Dufour walks it and shoots, and Berzic to stop on that. And Berzic emerging here as a story. He was not the goaltender for Latvia in the Division 1A tournament in Denmark back in December. Although 16 of these Latvians did play in that D1A. Latvia will be a co-host once again of the World Championship next spring. Russia was to host it in St. Petersburg, but the IIHF stripped them of the hosting duties. Latvia had the World Championship in 2021, but no fans were allowed, so they got a second kick at it. They'll co-host with Finland this year.
Fans make it all happen when they're supporting the Latvian national team.
Darzic works in, walks right in. Darzic shoots, scores! Raiders Darzic snaps it over the hand of Kosa, and it's a 1-1 tie.
What a shot from Darzic. And simple 2-on-2 for Latvia, but they're able to get to the middle of the ice. As Darzic takes it wide, and a little bit of a hook on the stick by Vido Lynch. Allows Darzic to skate across the middle of the ice. Lambos gets playing defense, skating forward, never a great idea, and pulls it underneath Cormier and over the shoulder of Costa. That is a beautiful individual rush by Darzic. Just the fourth shot of the period for Latvia, but they tie it up at 1.
Kosa played in the pre-tournament game for Canada, the second half of it. against Sweden. Gave up 3 goals after Dylan Garand started that game for Canada.
Tough period for him. He's been watching the play on the other end. All of a sudden, he comes down to 2-on-2 and rips one from the slot over his shoulder.
Zellweger back for it. He gets crunched into the corner boards by Seacat. Tavic back across to Bedard. Seacat plays it back to center ice, and Sabrango has it back. Here's Bedard back with it. Bedard will open the scoring in this game up for Seeley. Fired back down to the Latvian zone. Cooley back on it. For Bedard. Final minute now, the opening period. And here's Seeley back with it. Out to center ice. The pass finds Bedard. Centering pass to Desnoyers, and that's broken up. Another good stick play by Ozolinsh, who might have saved a goal earlier in this game.
One more.
Desnoyers plays it across Bedard. A hard shot. Perisic to stop.
I said one more because they wanted one more seam pass to get over to Bedard. Desnoyers with a good look to find him. A better save.
Desnoyers tied up at center ice. Knocks that down to Cooley. For Seeley. Up ahead for Desnoyers. Desnoyers centering pass, and that just missed Nathan Gaucher. Out to center ice, the pass brought ahead by Gavars. And fed back down the Canadian zone. Sabrango goes back. Up for Cormier. Time winding down in the period. Cormier goes rink wide, picked up by Anderson, who plays it back in. Cormier back down to Sabrango. And time will expire here at the end of this period. Cormier, Gaucher when it comes in late. There you go. Scrum at the end of the opening period.
Little bump as Sabrango was trying to kill off the last couple seconds of the period.
Gaucher pulled out of there. Sabrango as well. Shots 18-4, but it's a 1-1 tie. Bedard for Canada. Darzic for Latvia. It's day 2 of the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championship. The reboot here in Edmonton. Our first intermission is coming up next.
Back in 2009, a 16-0 win for Canada, and then a 10-2 win back in December of 2016. So Latvia way ahead of the curve, at least so far, but 40 long minutes to go. Gordon, Mike, have your call.
Thank you, James. So for the first time in their history, Latvia has come back to tie Canada at a World Junior Championship game. A pretty good first period for Canada, but...
Pretty good, but not great. And they had the puck a lot. They had the puck in the offensive zone a lot. And they put up 18 shots, which is a big number. But while they did get to the slot occasionally, including on Connor Bedard's goal, you did see a little bit of a bubble in and around Berzinch in front of the net where they just weren't getting a lot of great looks from those most dangerous areas. One off a rush, but especially off the cycle and extended zone play, you know, Canada was around it, but probably need to get to a slightly more dangerous area to make life more difficult on Berzinch and start cashing in on some of these many chances that they are creating. So point of emphasis, they have the puck a lot. Now they got to break down the defense, get to the slot, get those high danger areas, and find a way to get a puck to the back of the net.
Connor Bedard has now played 14 games for Canada at the under-18s in the World Junior. He has 18 goals in those 14 games.
This is the best of the best. Like, this is the best people in the world his age, and in this tournament, not his age.
I was going to say, he's
many years older,
all of them.
And he still is producing like that. Get a lot of tension, a lot of little taps, a lot of little cross-checks from Latvia on the way off the ice.
I remember talking to Connor McDavid at Christmas time about how being a 16-year-old in a tournament can be so difficult because you've dominated all along, and suddenly you're playing older players, and he found it frustrating. His first World Junior as a 16-year-old. Sidney Crosby had his ups and downs in his 16-year-old year. As a 17-year-old, he was pretty good at Grand Forks. Yeah. Well, Bergeron and Perry were his line mates. So. Penyenko plays it up ahead, and it's knocked out by Ravinskas. And we've talked about this before in international hockey, Mike, the underdog formula. As that centering pass is knocked down by Waugh, played off the glass and out. Shorten the game.
Yep. How do you do that? You get good goaltending. You don't take a lot of penalties. And you're very opportunistic on the few chances you create. So far, through 20 minutes, Latvia's kind of done just that.
Forrester swings that back in, but knocked up by Simonovic. Brought him back now by Stankoven. For Johnson, drops it back. Thompson, a hard shot. Hit Berzins up high. And it's chipped back out by Vilmanis. In comes Vilmanis. Works it on Johnson, and Kent Johnson takes him into the corner board. Thompson trying to work that free. Stankoven taps it back. And there's Ronan Seeley with it. Brought him by Stankoven. And as Canada changes, he drops it back to Seeley. Looking for a stick in front. That was knocked away, and the puck was back to center ice. Scooped up there by O'Rourke.
Good play by Oslins there. Checking the man in front by also staying loose to block the shot pass with his skate.
Probably saved a goal in the first period. Also broke up a backdoor pass that would have led to a open net opportunity.
Those lynches are always known for being great defensively. Sandis
could really move the puck. Coming back wasn't his favorite thing.
He hurt you with his offense.
Owns a golf course now in Latvia.
That's right.
Yeah, Ozogo it's called.
You're there in May.
Walking back in, that shot fired wide by Anderson. Brought back out. Gregg. Up at Rostapchuk, and Dufour couldn't reach that. Anderson's back with it. Moves around Gregg. Plays it back ahead, and that's swept away by Cormier. That rolls back down to the Latvian zone. Bergmanis plays it back out. He'll play at Vermont next year for Todd Woodcroft, the brother of Oilers coach Jay Woodcroft.
He's actually here on the Swedish bench.
He's working for the Swedish team, but he's also got a history in Latvia, hence the connection.
Yep.
Knocked down by Zellweger. Winds in, Zellweger shoots. Ripped that wide. Picked up by Gregg. Plays back down to Cooley. Dufour trying to work it free, and Dufour back on it. Dufour, a fifth-round Islander pick. And that knocked away. The Latvians called for icing. 16:40 remaining here in the second period.
Yeah, Latvia feeling pretty good about themselves. Tied at 1, and they're defending hard. What a big chance to have. It's a big one-timer by Thompson. Of note, he's the only right-shot defenseman on Canada. So that's his one-timer, but anybody else playing defense on that side of the ice, it would not be something to watch as this tournament goes along. Do they ever get stuck with a puck around the boards or some awkward spot because so many guys playing on their offside?
Waugh plays it back. Here's Bedard. Got bumped off the puck by Vinovich. And again, the Latvians ice it, and they're happy to do that. These are the games you can't win. Because if you win 10-2 or 16-0, which are the scores in the two previous games with Latvia, people complain that it's one-sided. Why Latvia the tournament?
Not if you're on Canada, you don't. You take it all day long as you see the two captains going at it. That was Bergmanis and McTavish. And you got to be careful. Yeah, sure, we got a little shove behind, but, you know, the swinging slash could be called.
Right.
Maintain your discipline.
Seeley to Bedard, fires that wide. Brendan Hoffman was penalized a couple times in the pre-tournament game against Sweden and is a healthy scratch today.
Got himself right off the lineup.
In comes Bedard. Poke check there by Simonovic. And Waugh plays it back around. Bedard waiting for it. Slides that back to Seeley to Thompson. Shoots! And that was blocked by Primalis. And the Latvians do block a lot of shots. In comes Waugh. Drops it back to Bedard. Bedard works in. Crunched in the corner by Primalis. Half a dozen of these Latvians have played in North America, mostly in the USHL.
Oh, boy.
Look out, that pass back got right down to
Dida goalie.
Sakosa. Denwaye. Has it knocked down by Simonovic. Played back to center ice. Cooley leaves it there for Cormier.
It's been a great 5 minutes for Latvia. Clogging up the neutral zone, a lot of dump ins, a lot of clear outs, lots of whistles.
And just one shot for Canada so far in the period. Well, the FedEx Cup playoffs begin Saturday as newly crowned Open champion Cameron Smith competes against #1 world-ranked Scotty Scheffler for the ultimate prize at the St. Jude Championship. Catch serve action 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on TSN and CTV2. North Saskatchewan River.
A little jaunt down there today. It's beautiful.
By the river, not in it, I would hope.
Triathlon.
Yeah.
Quick dip.
Wow.
Went for a jog, grab the bike.
Suddenly I feel lazy.
You swim in that river?
Have I? No.
Should you?
You could. There's one long shot deflects away. It's not that it's polluted much. It's just full of sediment. Look close to the mountains to be. Ozelinch back with it. Look out, that shooting almost rattled into the Latvian bench. Zellweger from Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta, just northeast of here. Knocks it back down. Zellweger chomps out ahead, trying to find Stanko, and he works it in. Plays onside, Stankoven drops it back, and that pass is picked off by Darzic. Enters Darzic, who has the Latvian goal. Works it and drops it off. Darzic scored just twice playing this year in the Russian Junior League, the MHL. There's Stankoven a shot. Pucks off the end glass, bounces right back in front. 8 players on the Latvian roster played for Riga in the MHL, but they've withdrawn from that league, and there's no Latvian Junior League, so those players are scrambling for places to play. Seeley shoots from a sharp angle, kicked away by Berzic. Now Thompson a drive that goes wide. Johnson back on it. And Johnson back for Forster. And that's moved out by Darzic. Formalis had it stolen away. Gregg drops it back. Thompson shoots, hit a leg penalty, puck back in front. And moved out by Bergmanis. Rink wide pass to Gregg. And Dufour plays it ahead. A stop shot. Drops it back. Gregg in. That bounced off his stick. Love down by Dufour for Gregg. Walks in and shoots. Berzic, great save in tight. And we had a stop chuck standing right on top of it. Now a penalty coming to Latvia. First power play of the game is coming as Gregg works in. Rink wide pass. Cormier shoots and fired that wide.
The wheels on Cormier.
Lucas Cormier, great look. Canada goes to the power play when we come back.
If you've received a wage garnishment notice, bank levy notice, or need to file back or current taxes, you need to call Tax Leaders of America.
After calling Tax Leaders of America, they were able to negotiate my tax debt down to pennies on the dollar.
Call today for a free consultation.
Show the world what it means to be a fan with exclusive fan gear designed by Fanatics. One-of-a-kind styles from all the leagues, teams, and colleges you love. Shop now and get today's special offer. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Bergmanis heading to the box. Canada to the power play as they're putting some pressure on the offensive zone, and a penalty because of it. A couple of good chances. Here's the penalty as he gets his loose hand onto the stick of a stop chuck, drawing him down. And that was after a couple really good chances. This one by Gregg. Great look. Stopchuk presents his blade. He cuts it up, but just a slightly better save by Berzic. Followed up by the penalty, and then just after that, on the delay, Lucas Cormier coming from way back, flies by everyone's. I'll take this. And that's another blocker save. Berzic does get a piece of it.
Wow.
Cormier showing the happy feet that makes him such a good defender.
Latvia hasn't had a shot on goal since the Darzic goal.
They don't need one.
It's been 9 minutes of game time, and now shorthanded. McTavish, Stankoven, Bedard, Johnson, the forward, Zellweger, the point man on the power play.
But this has got to be part of playing against a team in the offensive zone. You need to draw penalties, and then you need to take advantage of them.
Face off, won by McTavish, back to Zellweger. For Bedard. Back down to McTavish. McTavish to Bedard. Drops it back, Johnson to McTavish. Mason McTavish back for Johnson. Zellweger, Johnson slaps it across. Bedard back to Johnson. Shoots. He ripped that high. Now short-handed, but back by Gavars. Gavars works in, gets around Zellweger. A backhand shot, lifted that high. Well, look out. Coast had to be super careful with that. And then Johnson again. Look out.
Coast has had more shots from his own guys this period.
In comes Johnson. Spins and shoots that wide. Bedard back on it. At the point, Zellweger has to retreat, but it's chipped by him and a chance now short-handed. Vitalich works it alone, short-handed. Head save made by Kosa. What a stop there and a great short-handed break. Now Kosa's lost his goal stick. Vitalich, who had that breakaway, ties it up in the corner. And now McTavish works in. Mason McTavish swings it across to Johnson. And that pass goes off the stick of Simonovic, up and out of play, and the best chance so far on the power play has gone to Latvia.
You want that first shot of the period? There it is. As Vitalich on the break, in alone, tries to stretch Kosa out. Now that's going to be an issue. Kosa 6'6" plus. Can't get it all the way, and then the fact that he keeps the pad at the top of the crease, so it makes it tough to elevate it over top of him. But that was after that crazy carom one, and then that was even closer, because if that skips on Johnson, that's in the back of the net. Eventful 6-shot night so far for Kosa.
Another chance now as Gavars moves in. Had the attempt blocked by Cormier. Talking to coaches the last couple of days, most of these players haven't played meaningful games in months, so there will be some rust, but still. Seelig back across for Waugh. Cormier fan on it, goes back to Seelig. Seelig winds in and rolled off his stick. Picked free by Forster. Now Forster turns it over and chipped back out by Lavin.
I know they want some responsibility on the defense, on the second unit, but they have two defensemen out there, including Seelig, who handles the puck an awful lot on the half wall in a spot where I'm sure he didn't play very often with the puck.
Power play is over. Latvia had the only shot. Waugh works it back in the corner. Cormier back around for Forster. Another chance for Latvia. Gomanis works in with Brigmanis. Brigmanis walks in, feeds it back across. It's broken up on a good defensive play by Thompson. And now Forster back with it, a pile up in front of the Canadian goal. Cormier's tangled up. He's got to leave the ice. His helmet came off. Back comes Thompson, snaps that pass ahead. Another penalty coming to Latvia as Kidney works in. And Canada's going right back to the power play. A roughing call will go against Latvia. 10:32 to go in the second period.
Slightly undisciplined, flicking the helmet off, I would imagine.
Team Latvia, number 11, 2 minutes for roughing.
And with this new rule, it does open itself up for abuse if you intentionally start taking guys' helmets off because you know they have to change. So nothing wrong with anything going on here. It's Lokmelis, as he's getting up, he intentionally, see it pretty clearly, takes his helmet off. And that is the rough. Putting Canada back on the power play, but it was not a great first power play they had 2 minutes ago because Latvia had a breakaway, 3-on-1, multiple opportunities, and Canada never really got much going other than the first one-timer by Johnson. Take a look at Kent Johnson right here, Gord. Maybe fake slapper through the seam to Bedard. Tried it once last power play. They get set up.
McTavish was the face-off to Stankovic. Back to Zellweger to Bedard.
Switching up, going strong sides.
Here's Bedard. Swings that back to Zellweger. In, shoots up the goalpost. Skips off the crossbar, over the glass and out. And a great look there, just missed.
So same unit, same 5 guys, but they've opted to flip Bedard and Johnson to get them on their strong side. Zellweger says, I'm not passing anyone. Tipped in by McTavish. That's a beautiful tip. Sliding across the screen, dragging it back against the grain.
Tip crossbar
rolls it off the bar. A lot going on there to pick that puck out of the air if you're McTavish.
Scramble draw controlled by Canada. Zellweger back across to Johnson. The Port Moody native lines that down to McTavish. McTavish flips it back. Bedard shoots. And Perisic might have got a piece of that on the way by. Here's McTavish back with it. McTavish back to Bedard again, and this time the Latvian sniffed it out, and Gavar sends it down.
I do appreciate the idea of giving different looks. The first power play wasn't successful. Now they throw a different formation. They work it from behind the net to McTavish.
Zellweger winds in. Zellweger back for Bedard. Connor Bedard winds that back to McTavish. McTavish to Bedard, in shoots, and Berzic's got just a piece of that. Johnson, inside a minute to go on the power play. McTavish to Bedard again, holds, walks back in, reloads, and Bedard winds in and shoots again. And once again, Berzic's got a piece of that with a blocker. Another great look for Connor Bedard.
He just thinks he should score. There's nothing fancy about the system play here. It's just get the puck to Bedard and let him shoot it. This one's a nice pass from behind the net for McTavish. That was a good opportunity that he fanned on. But then now it's just one-on-one Bedard and Berzic, and can Bedard beat him from top of the circle? 45. And it's hard to do even when you shoot it as well as he can. And he misses a couple attempts going high. Kent Johnson's on the far wing saying, I'm over here if you want to slide one over. Everyone's paying so much attention to you.
Yes.
I can shoot it too.
Here's Cormier with it. 30 seconds to go in the Canadian power play. Gregg. Ridley Gregg winds in, drops it back to Thompson. Back down to Forster. Thompson to Cormier, winds and shoots. He hammered that wide. Back is Cormier, swings it back across. Waugh centers it. Gregg battling at it. Give it a stick on that. Now Thompson. Rink wide to Waugh. Cormier shoots, scores! Lucas Cormier snaps it home. 5 seconds to go in the power play, and Canada's back on top.
Timely goal for Canada. Just 5 seconds left in the power play. Lucas Cormier, who had 33 goals this year in the Quebec leagues. It's innocent looking wrister on a fellow pass back, and Forster doing a nice job for the Berzic, making him work.
That hit something?
Cormier's got his head up. Now, maybe a piece of Eric Manis, but just underneath the arm of Berzic.
Only 5 defensemen in the Quebec League have scored 30 goals in the last 25 years.
We watched him play against Sweden. He was my guy right away. I kind of compare him a little bit to Duncan Keith in the way that he skates, the quick edge work, and the really happy feet, very quick feet. And 33 goals, though, means you have to be able to shoot it. No matter how fast you can skate as a defenseman, you need to be able to shoot to score 30 goals.
He's a Vegas third-round pick.
As long as he can defend well enough, because with the puck on offense, he is electric.
Mellis taken down by O'Rourke. And O'Rourke throws it ahead for Desnoyers. Desnoyers centers it. Cooley knocked that wide as battling for it is Gaucher. Gaucher along the boards. Desnoyers knocks it free, but it's skipped by Cooley back down to the Canadian zone. Sabrango has it.
Think about the penalty here. Last week he talked about the recipe for shortening the game.
Right.
Little helmet flips are not part of the recipe.
Gaucher looks down to Desnoyers. Simonovic. A big hit there as he was bowled over by a stop check. Now a chance to do 4. Second try, shoots. Berzin save, rebound, loose in front. And that's knocked down by Ozolic. Plays it back to center ice. Sealing.
8
for a stop check, and he comes. A stop check, in, shoots, fired that wide.
Adam standing still.
Sealing. Pokes that rink wide, knocked down by Weinbergs. Plays it back to center ice. Here's Ozolic. Pass ahead, fired wide by Seekans. Stop check for Dufour. This is a big, heavy line for Canada. Not afraid to throw its weight around. That's knocked down by Dufour. And they can score, too. A stop check. Digging for it. You know, Kidney has it knocked away. Moved up by Vila Lynch, who had that short-headed breakaway earlier.
Tired legs. Get me off the ice. I can't handle it. I can't bend my knees. Tough time to be tired in the 3-on-2.
Anderson's works in. Centers of this tip wide by Vitalich. Seeley. Taps that back for Lambos. Carson Lambos being harassed there. Anderson feeds it back in. Give the Latvians credit. They don't sit back.
No, if they can pressure, they pressure, and they're physical and they're strong on the puck. Where they get passive is in their own end. They just pack it in and protect.
Latvia, of course, beat Canada at the World Championship in 2021 in the round robin in Riga. Canada started 0-3 in that tournament.
It's too bad there weren't fans in the building to watch that one.
They might have torn it down. Canada was not only the first team to start 0-3, win the gold medal, they were the first team to start 0-3 and make the medal round. Thompson winds his way in. Thompson pulls and slides that back to Cormier. Back to Thompson, swats that back in deep. Benoit. Back down to Gaucher. Benoit. With Cooley standing in front. Knocked back. Here's Thompson in, shoots, and that's punched away by Berzic. Cormier back with it. He's taken down, and penalty coming again to Latvia. It'll be the captain, Lavinch, who goes off. As Kosa heads to the bench, the extra skater comes on. It's Johnson. McTavish winding in. Can't get a shot away. McTavish slides that back to Zellweger. To Cormier. Cormier back across. McTavish. Scoop that wide. It gets by Cormier and back down to the Canadian zone. Cormier back for Zellweger. 6 skaters on 5 for Canada here. McTavish winds in. He's a back and Bedard to the goalpost. Bedard. That puck was on his second stick for a nanosecond, and it's off the pipe. Canada, after scoring the power play on the goal by Cormier, takes the lead back and goes back to the power play when we come back.
Tonight, the World Juniors are on. And we're bringing you a full day of live matchups featuring the best U20 players from across the globe. Continues tonight, 10 Eastern on NHL Network.
It's not about how fast you run. It's about how well you slow down. Corona Premier. Lower carbs, lower calories. Is your light beer Premier?
Canada has back to the power play as Urbanis goes back to the box, and they're starting to break Latvia down, generate some better chances, and you go swinging like that. There's the happy feet of Cormier, putting the defender in a tough spot. Easy call to make, and one way to open up some open ice is to get physical. And there, Ostapchuk finishing a hit perfectly about 15 seconds later as Latvia's still scrambling to get back in their positions. He's in alone trying to find short side, just has it roll off the back of his stick. And you mentioned the Bedard release. Look, it's a great pass by McTavish, just lofted in there. Little sweeper, different kind of shot than the snapshot he scored on. A little bit of a sweeper action there. And right now, Bedard is very frustrated he only has one. He feels he should have about 3, given the quality and quantity that he's had through 2 periods.
What are the mechanics that make that release so good?
Well, you have to read where it's coming from. You have to read how you're going to shoot it, whether it's the drag, load up the stick. That one was more a sweeper where you're almost catching it and releasing without. That one's more of a blade release as opposed to a shaft. There's many different kinds. You have to read it real time and pull it off perfectly.
Here's Bedard with it. Back to Zellweger. Zellweger for Johnson. Walks right in and shoots with a leg in front. That's rattled off the glass and down the ice by Bogdan Hodas. Plays for Medicine Hat in the Western League. In comes Bedard. The Regina Pat Star tries to swing that back. Here's Stankovic. And brought back in by Vitalich, who had a short-handed breakaway earlier in this period. Johnson back with it. Brought in by McTavish. McTavish works in. Jason McTavish. Back for Bedard. Stankovic calling for it. Back at the point is Zellweger. To Bedard. Works that back to Zellweger. Long shot, scores! Another defenseman strikes on the power play. Canada's got a 3-1 lead.
Offense from the defense for Team Canada. As Zellweger wrists one in, and take a look at look at the bodies. Are you kidding me? Barisic trying to stand upright so he can see through almost all 4 of his guys. Stanghoven, McTavish, they're there as well. He can't spot it. It's an easy save if he could see it, but he can't see it. And the challenge is getting the puck through the bodies. Just finding a way to get it through all the traffic down to the front of the net. You give yourself a great chance. Zellweger, good vision to get it there.
The Western Hockey League Defenseman of the Year. Franchise record 78 points in 55 games for Everett this season.
A bundle.
Yeah. Second round pick of Adam actually played a game for their American League affiliate when the junior season ended. As Canada sends that down, it's icing call.
So Canada slowly stretching out now. 2-goal lead after Latvia had tied it up late in the first.
So the questions would be, no Owen Power.
Yeah.
Who's heading to Buffalo training camp. Caden Gooley is injured, the Montreal prospect. So the 2 key components in the back end. The question is, how would Canada's blue line hold up?
But not offensively. The question is not how they'll hold up offensively. It's more when they play against Finland and they're getting challenged on their own end. How will they hold up there?
Right.
Scoring the puck, rushing the puck, not going to be a problem for this group. They got a whole bunch of guys who do it and do it well. It's more defending the top players later on in the tournament.
Desnoyers moves out ahead. Here he comes, Desnoyers. Penyenko stays with him. Penyenko plays for Big Como in the Quebec League, so he and Desnoyers will be familiar with each other. The puck turned over. Sponsored by McCullis. Shoots! Stop made in tight by Kosa, and he'll pounce on the rebound as Melis had a chance for Latvia. A couple of power play goals here in the second period give Canada a 3-1 lead over Latvia on day 2 of the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championship Summer Edition on TSN.
USA Hockey is teaching more than just a game. We're teaching kids about
teamwork, confidence, fitness, fun.
Because every kid deserves a chance to play, love, and excel. Visit USAHockey.com to learn more about the great youth hockey opportunities available for your child. Because dreaming big is one thing, getting the right start is everything.
Canada right back in action tomorrow against Slovakia. 6 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock local time is the start.
They just want to play at this point, right? They didn't play the first day. They've waited 8 months to play in this tournament. They got plenty of energy, and there's been a run of penalties against Latvia, so one way to try to even things up. You know what? You can say he went, that's a penalty on Goshen. That's a penalty. The pull and the shove. I watched it real time. I thought it was a massive flop. I watched the replay. Like, no, that should probably just be a penalty on Canada. I think you maybe get away with that. Maintaining discipline is a habit. And so just because you're winning the game or you're up by a few or you're comfortable, you can't let that stuff slide.
Ozolin's moves in. It goes off the skate of Seeley. Bounces back down to Permalis. Hodas. Long shot. That floats wide. Lifted back to center ice. Hodas mishandled. In comes Ridley Gregg. Rolling puck. Gregg works in. Charlotte scores! One-handed Ridley Gregg. And it's 4-1.
That was sweet. Ridley Gregg, how you doing? Showing the speed and the power to take advantage of a puck that slides through Hadas and fends him off. Oh my, not only he possessed it on his backhand, and most guys would have to shove it on their backhand, but watch, one-handed, he stick handles it to his forehand and then flicks it. He changes the angle and flicks it. Well, well. How do you do? That is a beautiful goal from Ridley Gregg.
Drafted with a pick that Ottawa got from the New York Islanders in the trade that sent Jean-Gabriel Pajot to the island. Another of the bushel of Ottawa Senators prospects coming through the pipeline.
You almost got to be excited if you're a guy like him thinking, I get to go play with all those guys sooner than later. It's a pretty fun group to join. Harder to make.
3 goals the last 5 shots for Canada. Well, that's flipped back in. Stankoven lays it back. Sabrango shoots. He fired it wide. Cormier back on it. Cormier back in the corner for Stankoven. Oh, look out. Forster taking in hard.
Lost an edge more than anything.
Grant took him in, but Forster's back up.
He wants to hit somebody. He wants to hit somebody now. He's on the hunt.
Kavinskas shovels that back down to the Canadian zone, and here's Sabrango with it. Yeah, Forster's got a bee in his bonnet. Plays that rink wide for Johnson, wanting it with McTavish. Johnson got spun around. McTavish comes back after it. Mason McTavish, native of Harp, Ontario. That puck came up and hit Bergmanis in the mouth. And Formalis swings that back to center ice. Zellweger taken in there by Vilmanis. And here's McTavish. Back across to O'Rourke. Hand pass called in the offensive zone.
Well, 4th goal of the night, but I think the prettiest for Greg. Gotta get the leg out, protect it. And the little shovel while under duress. Back against the grain. Oh, man, that is nice.
Played 39 games for Brandon this year in the Western League, scored 26 goals.
He's probably going to be a second, third line center in the NHL. Energy guy, physical guy.
Yeah.
But you see hands like that, and there'll be some offense in that game just yet.
And Bedard takes a run at Ozolinsh there. Here's McTavish back on it. And Lavish tries to move it around. Lavish had quite a game against Finland. Endless shot blocking. Seeley plays it back across. Bedard, a hard shot. Pearson save. Rebound. Turned away from McTavish. Back at the point. Seeley to Thompson. McTavish centers it. Hammered wide by Waugh. Bedard back into the forecheck on Ozolinsh. They re-engage, and Bedard feeds that back for Seeley. Shot hammered wide again by Waugh. Here's McTavish back on it. McTavish banks it back to Thompson. Across to Seeley. For McTavish, bounced off his stick. And now a race for it.
Boys.
Jumping in his Gavard.
Oh, he's so late.
He's tired.
No.
Wow.
He waited. He went and waited and went again. You got to go right away. If you don't go on the first instinct, you better stay in the net because he was way late. Lucky.
Hero or zero?
He should have been 0, but it's okay.
And time expires.
He knows he lucked out. He's smiling, a little wry grin under that mask. What was I doing? As turnover at the blue line. And who is it? Gavar's off to the races. And Kosa at this point should stay in his net. And if Gavar's handles that clean, he's in alone. It was just the fact that he waited so long to go. But he gets away with it.
So Canada pries it open here in the second period, scoring 3 straight goals, 2 on the power play. And it's a 4-1 lead after 2 periods of play. Coming up, our second intermission with James Duffy, Bob McKenzie, Jeff O'Neill, and Cheryl Pounder. You're watching the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championship, the summer reboot, here on TSN.
Ridley Gregg with that terrific individual effort. 4-1 is your score through 2. For the call of the third, Gordon Miller and Mike Johnson.
Thank you, James. Kent Johnson, a remarkable year last year, scores in the Olympics, the World Championship, and the World Junior. That goal counts from back in December. Hunting again here in this reboot to score some more.
He's such a gifted offensive player, but he also holds himself to such very high standards. So you watch him play, and he's had all kinds of chances. Puck on a stick an awful lot. You see that creativity that Owen talked about, willingness to try stuff, whether it's the Michigan scoop or through his legs, but a great facilitator. I think he's probably going to end up being a better passer than necessarily goal scorer as his NHL career progresses. But he set up a lot of plays, but as the game is close, he wants the puck, he doesn't get it, and you can see the kind of frustration because he's so demanding of himself that if he's not producing, if he's not scoring, if the game's tight, he does get frustrated, even in a game where he's doing a lot of things that are really nice and good for his team. So fun to watch, and also the short fuse on himself, which I can relate to. He's hard on himself throughout a game.
So the team start this third period 5-on-5. Earlier today, Sweden gutted one out against Switzerland 3-2. That came right down to the wire.
And it wasn't just 3-2, but completely lopsided game. It was a pretty tight game throughout.
First goal was scored late in the second period as Law works in. Tonight, Germany plays Austria in the final game here.
Which is a massive game for both of those teams.
Because the winner is likely to get to the medal round. There's no relegation here. But a feather in your cap to qualify to play
one more game in the top 8.
Germany did it in 2021 here and almost beat Russia in the quarters. Lost 2-1, hit a goal post late. There's a big hit there by McTavish. He's going to go off for taking down Bergmanis. So Latvia will get its first power play of the game.
Bergmanis right back up, so unlikely. Don't think it'll be more. The referee's going to get together.
So we saw 5 in a game in the earlier game between Sweden and Switzerland. If they call 5, they can review it.
The rules are if it's a 5, they can take a look and then keep it as a 5 or drop it to a 2.
Right.
But if they call it a 2, you can't review it to elevate it to a 5.
And you can't take it off the board.
Right.
Right. So they've posted 2 on the board, but they must have called a 5, and they're going to look at it.
And you see the referee talk and say, put a 5 on the board there.
5, yeah.
That's why we're reviewing this. It's not a 2, it's a 5 to start.
So you can only review double minors and majors.
Now, it's a penalty.
You only review majors and double minors. My apologies.
It's a penalty. It's a board or a hit from behind, whatever you want to call it.
So now they put 5 on the board.
Yes, which is important. It's to keep the rules, everyone understand what's going on.
We saw this a lot at the World Championship, where by default the officials call the 5 because you can always take it down to 2.
Yeah, and you know what? That's okay. That shouldn't be a 5. He kind of guides him in, doesn't tip him over. Bergmanis gets his hands up, doesn't hit his head against the glass, and he pops right back up. I don't think Bergmanis gets his head rattled off the boards too hard. It's a shove.
Riku Brander is one of the referees. Kyle Kowalski, the other. Brander was involved in the 13.5-minute review.
Don't go there, Gord.
Last night.
Don't do it.
Game between the USA and Germany.
So, if this is me, I'm gonna give a 2 because it wasn't with the force. I think
the one question will be he extends his arms, and that tends to be one of the telling points if you extend your arms.
He has his left palm up.
Yeah.
That is not a power pushing position. Usually your kind of hands are rolled over on your stick when you shove really hard. When your palms are up, you're pushing. And he's saying, "You hit me from behind, go to the penalty box." I think it's my Latvian translation.
Well, he doesn't. He's going to University of Vermont next year, so
that's English as well. Yeah. Listen, some languages are universal on the ice, but this is a big moment. I mean, a potential 5-minute power play. Captain could be out of the game.
And McTavish is sitting right there looking over their shoulder.
I would be nonstop in their ear trying to convince them that it's only a 2. Because you see Rico Brander has got his ear plugged. Like, that's not a board. It's not even a penalty. In regular speed, getting sounds of what it sounded like. And we got great microphones because that wasn't a violent collision. It wasn't. I'm all for safety. I'm all for that being a penalty every single time. But I still think I would call this a 2. But we've seen these called, like in the game that was right before this one. There was a 5-minute penalty called like that against Sweden late in the game for a hit very similar.
Yes, I would say in that instance, though, the Swedish
Niederbach, I think it was,
Niederbach clearly extended his arms.
Yeah. similar.
Yeah. But
and this the fine lines we're cutting here as they've made their decision. And McTavish is not putting his helmet on, so it's going to be a 2.
Team Canada, 33, minor penalties for boarding.
So they're taking it down to a 2.
He looks very calm because as the refs are walking out of the box, he asked him, he's like, "Am I out?" And they told him, "No, you can hang." Let you know what he thinks of the potential of a 5.
It's kind of a funny dynamic with the player sitting right there.
You'd hate for it to be a hotly contested, emotional moment where the player is on edge.
Right.
And the guy's sitting there in his lap.
So Latvia to the power play for the first time.
Canada gets to work on the PK.
Greg and Dufour, the forwards on this penalty kill. Seeley and Thompson on the back end. Bergmanis right out there for the power play. Takes that pass back from Luckmelis. Luckmelis back to Bergmanis. Walks in and shoots. He fired that wide. Most Latvian names do end in S. And when Bob Hartley went to coach their national team, they called him Bob's Hartleys. Bergmanis. Bergmanis. Back across, and that shot taken by Luckmelis, deflects wide. Vilmanis spans on that pass, and it's back out to center ice. Benoit comes out along with Gaucher to kill the penalty up front. Gaucher tied for the Quebec League lead with 5 short-handed goals this season, including 2 in 1 game. Luckmelis drops it down to Vilmanis. Bergmanis. Luckmelis to Bergmanis. Stands on the shot. And it's quickly scooped up by Thompson. Can't move it out. Benoit. Lost the puck to Lavinch.
Got a 2-on-1.
Benoit.
You go.
Moving out with Gaucher. Here they come short-handed. Gaucher walks in, shoots, and just missed far side. Latvians are changing as Lavinch brings it in. It's crunched in the corner by Sabrango. 2.5 gone here in the third period. Picked back up by Seacon. And that shot got through, and Kosa makes the stop.
The best chance, much like when Canada had their earlier power play, was to the penalty killers. Now it's Latvia on the power play, and Canada gets the 2-on-1, and Kosa in on a quick break. You want to be really careful late in the shift. Missing pucks far side because it's going to ring around the board. It can often queue up rush chances going the other way. McTavish thinks he got him. Oh, just wide on the glove side. But unfortunately, Latvia was tired as well and went for a line change, so no problem for Canada on the missed net.
Vancouver. A face-off win. Canada clears it down. 1 shot on goal for Latvia in that power play. McTavish comes back on. One of the reasons not to take penalties in this tournament as you go along is keeps Bedard on the bench. You don't want that. As the puck deflects high off the glass. Levinskas works back in the corner. Tied up there by Cormier, who was one of the Canadian goals. Seacons.
Good little step there by Cormier, though. Just pull it off the wall, allow Stankoven to skate it out.
Stankoven for Johnson. Little backhand shot with that wide. And back at the point. Lambos picks it back up. The Winnipeg native playing for his hometown junior team, the Winnipeg Ice in the Western Hockey League. His 4th year with that franchise, one of the handful of guys who actually played with him in Kootenay. Waugh works his way in. Now Waugh back with it, drops it back to Bedard with a shot. Pearson save, rebound, loose in front. McTavish couldn't corral it. And it's poked out by Vidalich. Long lead feed to Bedard. Tries to chip that ahead. It's knocked by him. And back down to the Canadian zone. Tomorrow, Finland plays Czechia in the opening game of the day. Slovakia, Canada follows, and Switzerland, USA is the nightcap.
Good lineup.
That long shot taken by Luckmelis is gloved by Kosa. Well, Stars is the home of bold originals you won't find anywhere else. From the executive producers of Power comes the return of the acclaimed crime drama Power Book 3, Raising Kanan. Season premieres Sunday, August 14th on Stars.
It's amazing to see the connection between Bedard and McTavish.
Just thinking that. Like
but there's a third guy in that line. And Roy hasn't yet kind of found how he mixes and matches quite as well as those two. You know, Joshua Roy had 119 points. The highest point getter on the team this past season. And he's still trying to kind of figure out exactly where he goes, because he's trying to create space. He's trying to be a facilitator. When he usually runs through him, it's probably different routes on the ice because Bedard's in those spots. Well, McTavish is in those spots.
Every player on this roster is a frontline player.
Yes.
For his junior team or wherever he plays.
And I like what I've seen in it. I've seen him going to the net. I've seen him setting picks, getting in the forechecks, doing things that maybe are not as glamorous, that maybe he wouldn't do on his junior team because he doesn't have to, because the other guys do it for him, to try to facilitate McTavish and Bedard. But I do think there's still a little bit more to grow there as far as his comfort on the line.
Knocked down by Gregg. Across he goes to Seeley. Seeley shoots. He hammered that wide. Thompson back on it. Chocks it back in. Dufault centers it. That pass is picked off, and a penalty coming to Canada now as Luck-Mellis was taken down. And Ridley Gregg will go right off as Latvia goes back to the power play.
They're going to get their penalty killer workout after all here in the third period.
Canada 70, minor penalty for tripping.
Ridley Gregg gets the penalty box every now and then. Gets caught reaching into the feet. Taken down Luck-Mellis, and Latvia heads back to the power play.
Zach Ostapchuk went to the Canadian dressing room. Now back on the man advantage, teed up and shoots, scores! Hodass with a drive, and Latvia's back within two. Bogdan Hodass, who plays for Medicine Hat in the Western League, just rifles that home. And the penalty turns out to be costly.
4 seconds. That's all it took. Win and draw. And Moyer got caught inside on the initial hash mark, so he can't get out and challenge Hodass at all. It's clean pass, and he just rips it short side. Zabrango's taking away the far side of the net, which is generally where you want to try to take away if you're shot blocking. Zabrango's taking away the far side. Of course, his job to get over to the short side, and he gets beat clean to the glove by Hodass. And Latvia closes it to within two.
Scored 7 goals in 57 games as a defenseman this year for Medicine Hat.
Not a lot on that, but there's no screen. You know the puck's going over to a one-time spot. I'm hoping the goaltender can get over there and find a way to get a piece of it.
Romanos plays it back, and that shot put high and wide by Gorshanov. Sabrango taps that back. Here's Cormier on it. Cormier for Kidney. Up ahead for Cooley. In comes Cooley. Slides it back ahead. The centering pass. Kidney with a chance. And a stop made in tight by Berzic. Rebound put wide by Cormier, but Berzic and maybe the post stopped that attempt.
Kidney hasn't been on the ice at all. It might have been one of the first shifts of the game as he's trying to restore a 3-goal lead after. Watch Denai Waye on the inner hash mark. He gets a little pick there, knocks him down, so he's effectively out of the play. And I wonder if Costa picks this up late because he doesn't move until you see his eyes are not tracking that puck as it goes by him. I think he loses that one in Zabrango's body off this attempted shot block and able to beat him glove side.
Off the draw, not done fairly. And they'll restart.
So we'll keep an eye on the Canadian bench. Topchuk can get back on the ice.
Yeah.
We got a penalty off the face.
Did he use his hand?
Off the face-off? Did he grab it?
You can't use your hand to win a face-off.
There it is. Wow. Wow.
Here's the call.
Number 13. Team Canada, pinch minor, delaying the game.
That's using your hand on a face-off.
Ken Johnson doesn't usually take face-offs. In there a second, and oh, that's intentional. Yeah, I was wondering if he's gonna play. I was falling and it just happened to hit it, which would be more debatable. But yeah, he swiped that one back as he was taking it on the left side of the ice. Stankoven, the usual centerman, not taking that one. So here we go. Another opportunity for Latvia to the power play.
Scored 4 seconds to the last one. Now walking in, that shot hammered wide by Seacon. Weinberg plays it back around. Chance at the sign of the goal and finally knocked down by Thompson. Has some time. Thompson finds Greg shorthanded. One-on-one with Hodas. Was the last Latvian goal. Hodas takes Greg in hard. Weinberg. Up ahead for Seacons. That's picked off and lifted high in the air by Dufour. 31-12, the shots on goal for Canada in a 4-2 lead. It was 1-1 after one. Canada scored 3 unanswered in the second to extend the lead, but Latvia has a power play goal here in the third period.
Canada had 30 shots after 2, so just 1 as they've been killing penalties for most of this third period.
Lavich lays it ahead. That sharp angle shot deflected wide, taken by Luckmelis. So Manis lost the puck and Sabrango sends it down. .40 seconds to go on the Latvian power play. Draw it slowly by Manis. Snaps that pass ahead. Giedelin works it back in the corner for Seacons. Back across and a hard shot taken there by Feinberg, and a stop made by Casa.
By Casa got there before the shot was released.
So with a good stop there, Feinberg. Taking down another penalty coming in from Ridley Gregg. It'll be a 2-man advantage for 9 seconds for Latvia.
You gotta be aware. You reach with your stick, you get it parallel to the ice.
Number 17, 2 minutes for hooking.
You're putting yourself at risk of giving a call, whether you think it's a dive or you think it goes down easy. You get it in the hands, you give it a little tug, a little can opener, you're going to get that call against you all the time. And that's a penalty. Now, I don't know if Weinberg has to fall, but it's a hook into his hands regardless. So it's a 5-on-3 for just 9 seconds, and this is better. It's almost the exact same play as the Hodas goal,
right.
But Kosa moves quicker, is set to handle the shot, sees it, makes the saves. Watch for Latvia to attack right away here, try to score within the next 9 seconds to maintain the second power play, if they can.
Savage, though, scrambles that draw and pulls out the puck. Kept alive by Luckmelis. And Luckmelis in the corner with it. Johnson steps back on to join the penalty kill for Canada. Luckmelis works down the goal mouth between the legs. Chance there for Dukas. And Dukas turned away by Kosa.
It's not a bad idea. A little goal line extended. Dukas pulls the puck through his legs, trying to get to the far side of the ice. It's a smart play because your foot protects the poke check. Change the angle, and it almost had a little gap underneath the arm of Kosa. Well, 7-hole available. He's able to squeeze just in time.
Still 1:42 to go in the Latvian power play.
Vilmanis way wide here. Strange face-off formation.
Thompson digging for it. The Tampa Bay third rounder to the line, but not out. Vilmanis plays it back in. Luckmelis shoots. That deflected wide. Vilmanis back on it. Picked off by Sabrango, picked up by Thompson. And Thompson banks it back down the ice, and both teams will change.
So similar to their one exhibition game where Canada played really well first 2 periods, it kind of tailed off in the third. And the same thing happening in this one.
Shots are 6-1 Latvia here in the third. Denway moves it and shoots, and that's gloved by Berzinch, and he'll have to hang on.
And we've kind of been marveling at the skill of all of these players. And the going through the legs to try to take it to the far side. Matthew Tkachuk's got a patent on this. He doesn't even know how to shoot it normally. He just does this every time. And if he hits the spot, that's going to go in. And it's a different way to get there, but smoothly done at the right time.
Inside a minute to go in the Latvian power play. 11.5 to go in the third period. Latvia plays the Slovaks on Friday. As that shot taken by Vita Lynch, knocked away by Kosa.
Vita Lynch skates the puck well. Skates it with authority through the neutral zone.
Back at the point. Hard shot taken again, this time by Hodas. And the rebound sent back down the ice. Hodas has the Latvian power play goal. Now it's picked up by Seeley. In with Desnoyers. Seeley in, shoots. Bergev's the save. He wasn't sure what it was, but he's held it long enough. But there'll be a face-off in the Latvian zone. Another good short-handed look for Canada.
You think that Canada's going to sit back. Seeley recognizes the quick up by the goaltender and said, I can beat him to the puck and take a chance of my own. And Seeley almost puts this game to bed as he tries to slide it underneath the hand of Berzic. The 7-hole he squeezes down. Good decision not to overpass. If you're a defenseman leading an odd man rush while shorthanded, don't need to be forcing passes.
Desnoyers hopes that face-off forward. Spinning back is Brigmanis. And the Latvian captain slides it back out. Up ahead for Lavinch. Lavinch crushed by Sabrango. Luckmelis spins back. Final seconds of the power play. Luckmelis drops it back. Latvians are changing. 4 shots on goal for Latvia on that power play. Remains a 4-2 lead for Canada. Shipped back in by Dukers. And Kosa plays it back across for Sabrango. For Bedard. And Connor Bedard, who's been parked on the bench as Canada kills all these penalties, moves in and shoots, and misses that just wide. Another chance, he throws it back in front. That just missed for McTavish. Waugh back on it. Joshua Waugh plays it back down to Bedard. That's picked off by Penyenko. Brought back in by Darzic. Puck loose behind the Canadian goal. Darzic back on it. Scored late in the first period to tie this game. As we pass the midway point here in the third period, McTavish pokes it back to center ice. Korshanov being shadowed there by Waugh. On center ice, McTavish squeezes off Ravinskas. Back at the point, Ozelich winds across and shoots. That deflects wide. Ravinskas centers it, and that's picked off by O'Rourke. Plays that to the sideboards. Zellweger has some time to roll up his stick, and McTavish has it back. Rink line for Waugh with Bedard. In comes Connor Bedard. A step on Ozelich. Bedard works in, shoots, and then it Berzic up in the mask. He's got his arm up in the air. That might have broken a strap on his mask. That rocket from Connor Bedard. 4-2 Canada leads here in the third period. You're watching the 2022 World Junior Hockey Championship from Edmonton.
If you or a loved one has mesothelioma or any other asbestos-related cancer, call now. Asbestos manufacturers sold deadly asbestos materials to thousands of companies, putting workers at risk. An estimated $30 billion in court-ordered trusts have been set aside to pay out claims to asbestos victims. You may be entitled to a portion of these funds and receive compensation without filing a lawsuit or ever going to court.
For your free legal consultation, call 800-543-0258. That's 800-543-0258. I'm a non-attorney spokesperson.
Connor Bedard better have brought a lot of sticks because he's wearing them out. 15 attempts in the game, and you know he rushes through the neutral zone trying to get to about tops the circles in where he can shoot to score. That's his objective, get to his scoring area, which is basically tops the circles. You know, this kind of looks like Connor McDavid 1-on-4, except McDavid wants to get all the way to the net, and he's good enough a skater to do that. There's that same determination on the face of Bedard as he Tries to score from distance, and then listen, when you shoot the way he does, why not? Even from the goal line.
Now that used to be an automatic.
Tower.
Used to be an automatic stoppage in international hockey, but
I'm glad it's not. I think Bearsinch thought he had popped the strap, even though he was okay.
Cormier back with it. Stopchuk back out there. That shot deflects back in front of Bearsinch. Here's a Stopchuk who went to the Canadian dressing room moments ago. Back on it in the corner. He goes to Gregg. Ridley Gregg, rink wide to Lambos. Back in the corner for Dufour. Cormier holds the line. Plays that back in for Stopchuk.
I don't know if Stopchuk had an equipment issue. You know, he blew his skates out a couple days ago.
He did, yeah.
Which is a rare thing to happen. An entire skate be ruined. You can't usually have to use one of his teammates.
Yeah. Lambos, bouncing puck rolled away from him. Luck Mellis. Now they go off the leg of Gregg. And Ridley Gregg back on it. Dufour chips it back in as Canada changes. Dufour going after it. And pick free by Gavars. Gavars' little speed wobble through center ice. Takes it back into the Canadian zone.
It's a good move. Make him think you're about to fall down and keep going.
Morris, a rink wide pass, bounce away from Stankoven. Logan Stankoven plays that back. 45 goals in 59 games this year for Stankoven with Kamloops in the Western League. And then 17 in 17 in the playoffs.
One of the goal scorers going to count on to help Connor Bedard out. But you mentioned the production with the Team Canada sweater on for Connor Bedard. Wherever it is, whatever level, whatever time of the year, he scores goals. 14 goals. Or 18 goals, 28 points in just 14 games. I mean, that is otherworldly. In tournaments where it's not supposed to be easy.
We'll get a chance to play again at Christmas time in Halifax.
Right. And that'll be it, won't it?
I would think. Quick chance there for Weinberg, and a good stop point blank by Kosa. That puck bounces into the
off the glass
Latvian bench.
Yeah, no penalty there.
7:28 to go in the third period. We're back to Edmonton in a moment with Canada leading Latvia 4-2.
Now you can get your favorite jersey faster than ever at Fanatics.com. Introducing Fanatics MVP with next business day shipping. Official jerseys from all the leagues and teams you love. Fanatics.com. Officially licensed everything.
Here it is.
The way he plays is so spectacular to watch.
Did your favorite make the cut? Find out when we reveal our list.
He could easily be a point-a-game player.
Of the top 20 centers now. Sunday, 5 Eastern on NHL Network.
The Women's World Championship, the third international hockey event in the month of August. Starts August 25th from Herning, Denmark. Goes through September 4th. And our pal Cheryl Pounder will be part of that coverage. Also part of our post-game coverage on this game today.
All she does is win that Pounder. Gritty. Defensive. Tough. Let's ask her.
That was just at lunch.
I was trying to get ahead of her on the buffet line.
It began with
That'd be fun in Herning. That'd be great.
Yeah.
They were there a few years ago.
Yeah, I liked it there. World Championship was there a couple of years ago, 2019, I think. So it began with the Hlinka Gretzky Cup down in Red Deer last week, the World Junior here in Edmonton, then the Women's Worlds. Face-off warning given to Gaucher. Scramble draw control by Desnoyers. He pokes out ahead. Desnoyers from St. Hyacinthe, Quebec. That knocked away. There's a shovel back towards the goal by Ravinskas and kicked away by Kosa. Cooley waiting for it. Back at the point, that shot goes off the stick of Desnoyers. That might have broken his stick. He's holding it carefully. Way back to center ice and bounced by Ozil. Desnoyers goes off. His stick was broken.
I appreciate the awareness to not flex your stick to check if it's broken. If you think it's broken, just play with it and kind of compromise. At least you can poke check and defend. many guys think their stick's broken, then they go break it.
Lockmello's back in the corner. Slides that by Bedard. Moved back in by Penyenko. Here's O'Rourke back with it for Cormier, who has a Canadian goal. Cormier. Here. Gains center ice and banks out ahead. Bedard goes hunting for it. Penyenko moves that by him. Lockmello's back with it for Latvia. Poke check there by Sabrango. But Cormier fell, so Kosa's got to play it carefully, almost in the no-fly zone. Move back at the line. Kurchanov. Long shot. Kosa saved the rebound. Tapped wide there. Gets skipped away from Kosa. And Dukic almost poked that home.
Kosa grinding away. Up to 20 shots now for Latvia as they've a little more pressure onto the third period. Well, it's a bit of a surprise starter given how well Garand had played in the first exhibition game.
We're told Garand will likely get the start tomorrow against Slovakia. Greg, lead pass to Ostapchuk. Ostapchuk drops that back. Greg with a shot. And Berzic makes the glove save. Ostapchuk. Back for Greg. Before a hard shot, Berzic the save. Greg. Feeds back across. Shot score! Dufour! William Dufour fires it home, and the Quebec League's leading goal scorer from last year makes it 5-2.
He's been close. He's been around it, and you could sense he's got the shot. So just prior to this, there's the first one-timer. Didn't quite pluck that one perfectly, and they can just give me another shot at it. And Greg draws in lots of players for slides to a soft spot on the ice, and he's able to really load up this wrist or short side. Quick release underneath the glove of Berzic, and Dufour gets Canada's fifth. Good setup by Greg, who's got a multi-point game.
Dufour, native of Quebec City, was an Islander 5th-round pick, as we mentioned.
56 goals for a 5th-round pick. I don't care what league it's in. It's impressive stuff.
Here's Thompson back with it. Slides it across the ceiling. Goes back down to the Latvian zone. Icing called as Penyenko goes back for Latvia, which will play Slovakia on Friday and Czechia on Sunday. Trying to find a way to get to the quarterfinals. Probably need one win to get there.
Yep.
Against the right team.
And it's tough to start with Finland and Canada back-to-back, but they're battling hard as they always do. A little more skill for Canada, and for the latest example of it.
Right up the draw. That shot hammered by Seacons. That was blocked in front by Thompson. Forster for Sealing. Sealing. Knocks it across the line, feeds it back across the Forster, shoots, and Berzic knocks that away.
This line wants to get on the board. There it is, loose, it's loose.
That's in front, City reaching for it.
I could see it, nobody else could.
Still loose. Berzic finally pounces on it. And there's a penalty coming at the end of this. Stankoven was involved as the puck sat there. Stankoven's going to go. Canada's extended the lead to 5-2 as Dufour gets his first of the World Junior. And a 3-goal lead on Latvia.
Food. HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com and use code TV16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes.
Well, if Canada wants to check all the boxes of situational play, well, a little 4-on-4 action, which they haven't seen yet. is going to come up. There was a massive scrum. There's the loose puck sitting beside Berzic. Nobody sees it until the last minute. That's going to draw all kinds of attention. Everyone digging at it. And off the paw, you can't even see them. It's McManus and Stankoven absolutely battling. And watch later, Stankoven's stick comes down late. Kind of catches McManus along the shoulder. I think it was just a little conversation about it right now.
So it's offsetting minor penalties. The officials are conferring. Referee Kyle Kowalski and Riku Brander from Finland.
They're going to just be 2-2 when it's all said and done. We'll see a little 4-on-4. Canada goes with their big guys, McTavish and Bedard. And they have been, as advertisers, both of them. They just, they're not going to come out with nearly the volume of points that they feel they should have, given the chances that they've created. And McTavish at this level is just stronger than about everybody.
Scored his first NHL game for Anaheim at 2 goals in 9 games for the Ducks.
He just can use his frame to create space. Plays with his hands so close together so the puck's always away from his body.
Talked about it earlier, played for Anaheim, their American League team in San Diego, Peterborough in the Ontario League, traded to Hamilton. That's 4 teams. Played for the World Junior team and the Olympics.
Stuck in the Olympics as well. Can't forget about that.
Oh, and he played in the Memorial Cup.
All the way to the very end. Yeah.
It's a long year.
It's a lot of new friends you have. I mean, if your buddies and everyone you play with, he's got about an extra 200 numbers in his phone.
Yeah, well, you also need a big rec room for all the jerseys. That's just 1 year.
Well, maybe just the Canada ones can just be one, all-encompassing, multiple tournaments.
In comes McTavish again, drops it back to Bedard, pulls it back across, McTavish in. And that pass just missed Bedard, a race for it now. And hustling in. Chance now for Darzic working in, shoots, and Kosa makes the save on the Darzic break. As Darzic, we're looking for his second of the game.
Little overpassing by Canada in the offensive zone, puts them in a tough spot, and Darzic shows some good speed to break in alone. McTavish trying to find Bedard, and Darzic hanging up top. It's inside Sabrango, and that's a good save by Kosa. Tuck that arm in, squeeze it tight so it doesn't get underneath. Darzic trying to build some confidence for later in the tournament.
18, played for Latvia in the spring under-18 tournament in Sweden.
And they will all be better off, all these young players.
Sure. 16 of them can return. And that long shot by Gershanovs.
Which would not generally be the norm for Latvia. They probably have to turn over a lot of 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds.
Normally, in a Division 1A tournament, what happens is you qualify with a bunch of 19-year-olds.
Right.
They age out.
And then you get to the big tournament and you don't have
So there's been a lot of talk about trying to do it the same year. It's not, you can't do it. It's not practical because you have a team relegated in the same year. It's impossible to do promotion. Sabrango lifts it high in the air for Johnson. Kent Johnson hard after it. 3 to go here in the third period. Picked up by Gregg. Drops it off to Zellweger. Zellweger centers it. Just missed Johnson with that pass. 30 seconds to go in the 4-on-4. Weinberg. Drops that back. And McManus with it. The 4th most penalized player in the USHL last year.
I like it. I want him on my team. Edginess.
Lockbellis back with it. Here's Ozolin's playing it back in. For Dukers. And the teams are back to 5-on-5. Ridley Gregg. Chips to the head for Stankoven. And Logan Stankoven buys some time, throws that rink wide. Seeley works in, shoots, and dribbles off his stick. And Berzic has it. So the nightcap tonight has Austria taking on Germany in a game that has massive implications for those two teams. The winner will have a very good chance of appearing in the quarterfinals.
Both teams Germany had a tough first game against the U.S., but against Austria, it'll be a much different kind of contest.
Austria won promotion last year. Marco Kasper there.
He was dazzling at the men's worlds this past spring.
He's not here. And again, there's no relegation, so no harm for him as Thompson shoots. Same reason Moritz Seider didn't come for Germany in the bubble.
Those guys feel a lot of pressure to try to keep their team up. If it was a normal
100%.
relegation, like Mo Seider, if it was a relegation, I think he would come after just winning Rookie of the Year. That would be a tough ask.
Well, he's too old.
Too old, sorry.
But he didn't play in 21
when
in the
there was
bubble
none,
here
right?
because there was no relegation.
Right.
He figured, you know, he had a long year. But yeah, if there's a chance of being relegated, their guys will all come. Austria trying to build a program. Sealy lines that down. Now Sealy back on it. Minute 45 to go in the third. Oh, Kidney with a big hit there on Lavin. Benoit lays that back. Sealy's long shot. Steered wide by Berzin. Sealy hacking at it. Way back, Penyenko lost the puck to Forster, and Forster bumps that back to center ice. Weinberg up ahead for Seacons. Steered wide off the glass, up and out. 1:04 to go in the third.
So Riley Kidney getting the odd shift here later in the third period. And again, this is a guy who led the Quebec League in assists last year. And he's the 13th, 14th forward, and he gets out there and he's running over guys. It's amazing how guys can adapt their role to do different things than they would maybe normally do in their club teams.
Second round pick of Montreal, native of Enfield, Nova Scotia. Plays for Acadie Bathurst in the Quebec Major Junior League.
70 helpers in the regular season.
And you're an assist guy too.
I love my apples, yes. Primary, secondary, they all taste good.
Jam played side of the goal. Benoit got us back up and skipped away from him. And back is Cormier with it. In the corner for Cooley. And Cooley stays on it. Will Cooley pivots back along with Cormier. Cormier long wrist shot, and Berzin kicks that away. O'Rourke got knocked down. Here's Cormier back with it. And moved in by Gaucher. Penyenko brings it back out. So Latvia once again puts up a good fight, like it did against Finland. Tied this game after one period. And Latvia will fall to 0-2, and Canada opens the tournament with a 5-2 victory. Canada 3-0 all-time against Latvia in the tournament, but this is by far the closest game of the three. The first two are 16-0 and 10-2.
But a good opener. Played hard, good tempo, dealt with a little bit of adversity, played a bit of a close game. To work on all their different special teams. We'll get their tournament going, continue tomorrow against Slovakia for Canada.
And Latvia will play Slovakia on Friday and close out the preliminary round against Czechia on Sunday. Now we'll get the player of the game presentations and then the Canadian national anthem. Still to come tonight, Germany and Austria tomorrow. Another triple header starting with Finland, Czechia, Slovakia, Canada, and then Switzerland, USA is the nightcap.
Perisic wasn't the sweat off his brow. He was a busy goaltender, especially early. First period, 18 shots against. He was under duress for most of the night.
The best player of each team is awarded a one-of-a-kind hockey stick, hand-painted by one of Canada's most prolific contemporary Indigenous visual artists, Jason Carter. The prizes will be presented by Grace and Terry O'Flynn, co-chairs of the 2022 IIHF World Junior Championship. The best player of Team Latvia et le numéro 35, number 35, Patrick Bernzinch.
And Bernzinch, a busy night, facing.
You know, heading into a game against Canada, you're thinking, okay, I get ready to get to work. Have a good pregame nap because it's going to be busy.
43 shots.
The best player of Team Canada est le numéro 17, number 17, Ridley Gregg.
That's a nice, beautiful goal.
An amazing goal, no question about it.
Nice pass as well. Tours. Third line finding their kind of chemistry. There by Ridley Gregg.
Now please rise for the national anthem of Canada. Maintenant, merci de vous lever afin d'écouter l'hymne national du Canada.